Hi again, it's me, Cinnamon. I'm a 24-year-old working a corporate job who loves all things personal finance, especially budgeting, and today I'll be budgeting my third paycheck of July. So, luckily for me, this paycheck is coming on the last day of the month, and that is my favorite day to budget because I get to close out the month with my real numbers and prepare for the next month. Normally, I don't have that much to do when I'm budgeting because I sort of got into a system that I found to be really easy, but I am going to be changing up that system a little bit because I have just been focusing on giving myself a monthly allowance for all my expenses of $4,333 about. And if I spent under that allowance, I called it a good month. But I want to make sure that I'm actually spending in alignment with my goals, and that means I'm going to start focusing a lot more on how my spending breaks down across like my specific categories. And that means when I'm budgeting, I have to be intentional about how much I'm putting in those categories upfront because I don't want to be moving that much money around. I want money to stay where I intended it to go because of my values. So as you can see, I have a lot of overspending to cover. Normally I try to cover this overspending throughout the month, so it doesn't really show up in my budget, even though like I do always borrow from one category to pay off another. But going forward, yeah, I don't want to see overspending. I was really busy this month, so I was just trying to keep up with reconciling my accounts, and I wasn't going in to cover overspending because I knew I did have the flexibility. But again, things will be different going forward. Yeah, and the program I'm using here, this website, it's called You Need a Budget. It is a paid like budgeting software. It's actually increasing in price to $109 a year, which I think is pretty expensive. Like it's expensive in my opinion. But I do enjoy budgeting, and it is like a fun kind of activity for me to be in ynab, so I'm going to probably pay for it for another year. Okay. Now that I've talked so much, let's get into covering my overspending. So, as always, I have my HSA and 401k contributions on my budget, and this is overspending I expect because I do not prepay for it. But whenever I incur this expense, I also get more income, so it's fine overspending. So, I'm just going to underfund or fund those categories, and they're all good now. And you can see my ready to assign amount is $3,193.83, and this is my post-tax, like post-contribution, new paycheck amount. So that is interesting. It might actually be slightly higher when I get a paycheck where I don't get my reimbursement. So I got my reimbursements from work and I already applied that to the right category. I just wanted to make sure I did it before I would forget or anything. So that is that. Okay, and I'm still following my normal flow for the most part. I'm gonna go here and add most of this money to my investments. Actually, I have some notes here because I did want to remember that I have to assign my dividend taxes. I didn't do that last month, which is the month I was supposed to do that in. That was a big oops, so I'm gonna do it now. I did write a note to myself of how much it would be, so it's $57.01. And yeah, I get dividends from my investments and I reinvest that. But when I get paid from my W-2, I make sure that I put aside some money to cover what I will have to pay in taxes on those dividends. So far, what I'm paying on my taxes on my dividends is pretty low. And shockingly enough, what I'm paying on taxes for my high yield savings account is really high. It's $478.79 already. So just something to keep in mind, if you have a high yield savings account, you do have to pay taxes on that. So if you are getting a substantial amount from your high yield savings account, make sure to factor in what you'll have to pay in taxes. So now that I have that set aside, I am just going to put the remainder of what I have into my investments. Yes, that is what I want to do. Oops, I slightly did under 1 cent. I'm just going to do it again. I like to use the undo button because it makes sure my history looks exactly like what I intended to do. Okay, so the market has been tanking. And I hate that my natural reaction is to just be like, wait, hold up, like, don't invest right now. But I do have a good amount of cash that I need to invest. So I need to bite the bullet and just do it and get this money out of my budget. Weirdly enough, though, as money has been building up in my budget, my age of money has been going down. It's usually over 90 days and now it's under 70. I don't know if they just changed their calculation of something. So if you're not familiar with ynab, your age of money is basically the number of days that when you get a dollar in your account, how long it takes for that dollar to leave your account. I don't really understand it. It's not super important, but it is weird to me that I've been keeping the same system and yet my age of money is changing. Okay, now for the real overspending. Okay, where are we gonna start? Okay, this overspending I am not holding against myself at all. We get a true up bill for our utilities once a year, and this bill was $371.39, and this is split 4 ways. So this is just my portion. I don't know why it is so high. I also barely spend any time at home now. And I never use the dishwasher. Like I just didn't grow up with dishwashers, so I'm still not really a dishwasher girl. And when I did have my own studio once in college, every time I ran the dishwasher, my utility bill like really spiked. So I just am not a dishwasher person. So I know it's not me, but I'm not gonna say anything, you know? When you live with people, it's like you have to just be flexible, but sometimes having sort of unfair splits of things. But yeah, that was a shocker. So let's see how I'm going to cover this. Um, I am going to cover this with my discretionary spending category. It is there to give me this flexibility on unexpected things. It's usually supposed to be for fun things, but that's fine. I have a lot of room for fun things in my budget anyway. Okay, what are we going to cover next? Commuting expenses. I get this reimbursed, but I'm like over my limit, so I'm going to have to cover this myself. Again, with discretionary wiggle room. The reason why my commuting expenses have been higher is because I can take the train for free from my house to my job, but usually after work, I don't go back home. I go to my boyfriend's house and we hang out, and for that, I have to take a bus, and I don't get to take the bus for free because there are like 3, 4, 5 different public transportation companies in my area, and so getting like the yearly pass for one doesn't apply to all of them, and it just is actually ridiculous to buy the yearly pass for all of the different services. So not a big deal, but I am going to think about this a little bit more because I haven't been using my e-bike, which is a huge part of my commuting expense, and I might just get rid of it, stop having the monthly expense, is what I'm thinking, and focus on getting my driver's license. Okay, what is next? Eating out. So here I've overspent by $194.70, and all in though, I've only spent $435.70 on eating out, which is pretty good to me. I try to balance my eating out and my groceries, so if I overspend on eating out, I should be underspending in groceries, and I have so much built up in groceries, so that is what I'll be using to cover that. And then social activities, this is also usually food related stuff, so I will also cover groceries. Okay, so yes, I overspend, but I have like a general sense of how much money I have, and so it doesn't end up in me like going in the red. Now, here. I do not for the life of me want to cover this overspending because the California government, who took out taxes that they weren't supposed to take out for me and owe me a refund, should have put my check in the mail by now, and I should have it. I have to go back home, check the mail. I really hope when I go home today that check will be in the mail. And if it isn't, let's see. I still have a good chunk in my discretionary spending to cover this, so I will do that after this video if that check isn't in the mail, and then just like hope it comes sooner rather than later. But yeah, I'm leaving out overspending. I have one more overspent category, which is my good daughter category. I bought some food for my mom. That will just also be covered discretionary spending. I had been building that category up for a while, so it's really come in handy to help me cover all my overspending this month. Okay, now comes the reworking of my budget, starting with my primary focus. My primary focus right now is going to Korea. So I need to start funding this. I'm going to throw everything I have at going to Korea. So starting with what I have in my sinking fund holdings. Let's send this to Korea. And for the first half of me going to Korea, I just want to cover my flight, Airbnb, my concert tickets. Those are the first few things. And because I'm going later than planned, I'm actually able to get cheaper flights and all that. So I'm only going to need to get this to probably around $2,000. Airbnb as well is going to be pretty cheap because I will be at least splitting that 3 ways because I'll be going with my boyfriend and his brother and possibly even his sister. So it might be split 4 ways. And the prices in Korea for Airbnbs are really, really affordable. So main thing is the flight, and I know already this amount can cover a flight. Let's put this towards Korea, and this can pretty much cover an Airbnb. So we're getting there. I still would like to get closer to 2,000, but let's see what we need to do. These are fine. Nothing here can be touched. So where am I moving money? Okay, I have my next month's holding category, which is where I store, or this month's holding category, which is where I store my reimbursements from work for my phone bill and my commuting. So I'm going to move that to Korea. And now for Korea, we're at $1,200. So that already makes me feel a lot better. I can buy the flight tomorrow, which is when I plan on buying the flight, and buy the concert tickets. The concert tickets should be pretty cheap. Again, maybe only at the high end $90. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Even though I still want to get this to 2,000, I'm going to deprioritize that because I need to fix the rest of my budget first. So I kind of just want to take all of the money out and redo everything. But I know that's not a good idea. Oh, I actually know exactly what I'm going to do. So let's go. Okay, I'm caving. I'm caving because if you do not cover overspending in a given month and you want to move to the next month, let me see if this shows up. You start off on a bad note. So I'm going to cover this. I'm going to cover this and rework it after this video if I get the chat. But let's just cover this. It's way too stressful. Honestly, this was also my fault because I got the bill and I panicked and paid it. And if you have a bill that you don't agree with, literally the worst thing you can do is pay it, because even if you guys both end up agreeing that you don't owe that money, these agencies will take their sweet time to give you that money back. This goes for so many things, like medical bills, all of these things, right? Okay, what happened to this category? Okay, yes, I paid for my annual fee. So I can actually move money out of this category too to Korea. I shouldn't need anything else here. Okay, things are coming together. Let's just take a quick look at what we have going on in Korea. 1,250, that is very close. And I'm going to start prepping for the next month, which means I'm going to take all of my money out of next month's holding. Oops, let's move this to ready to assign. And I'm going to assign what I need to cover my next month's expenses. So that's going to give me $300 towards my discretionary spending, $1,700 towards my rent, and all of these other numbers. There's so many. I'm actually underfunded for the month. How did this happen? I'm underfunded for the month $5. Let's undo this. I'm trying to see how that could be possible. Oh, okay. I actually do know how. I don't know why it's saying this, that I need this amount of money. This is like not right math, but oh, and you know what I didn't do is I didn't budget for ynab. Oops, okay, let's do that now. There's just so much you have to keep in mind when you're budgeting. It can get really stressful. I am going to pay for ynab here and figure it out when I get my next paycheck, because until I get that refund from the government, I won't have $100 left over to pay for ynab. That's number one. Number two is I am underfunded $5 because my phone bill went up $5 and I need to call them about that. So I'm going to write another note. This is my favorite ynab feature because all of my money thoughts can just go in one place. And now, to temporarily address this, I'm just going to decrease what I'm giving myself for discretionary spending. Okay, that is fine. Now let's make all of these balances work for me. So something else I like to do is pre-fund my health insurance. I'm going to go back 2 months to get these numbers because August is only a 2 paycheck month. So that means I'm only charged for these things twice. And last month I was charged for them 3 times. Okay. This I will also fix with my discretionary. Nice. What else? Phone bill is done. What do I need to take money from? Household utilities, I'm keeping this. Transportation. Transportation is at a whopping $297.80. I do not need that much in transportation. My transportation expenses have been going down. So my idea here is I can move some of this money to driving lessons. Even though Korea is a priority, I also want to put aside some of this for driving lessons. Or I guess I have $200 in here already that I'm not using, but I'm going to put it towards driving because transportation, driving lessons, they're just connected to me. Okay, let me also go. Social activities is good. I am happy I'm being more social, but August, I'm going to hunker down with my studying. So I know I have one plan for going to a fashion event. Let's see. And I might meet up with a friend still. Okay, so these are the only two things I'm planning on doing, and they're actually both the same weekend. And then after that, I don't want to do anything. Aesthetic expenses. I like this number. I am going to just drop it to 300. And I'm going to move the remainder to Korea. And the things I need to do is, yes, I want to go thrift shopping. I also want to shop at Old Navy for more activewear. What did I delete? Crocs, which I got, okay. And I want to do a hair appointment before I go to Korea. So this won't be enough for all of that, but will be enough for my two priorities right now. And I'll figure out the hair appointment when it comes up. But I'm going to spend money on shopping this month. I'm giving myself permission to do that. Skill development. So spending in accordance with my values is investing in my skills, but I do not have anything at the moment that I want to spend on. But I do want to make notes of what I want to spend on. So first is something called LeetCode Premium. This is a subscription to like a technical interview prep website, specifically the coding questions. And I want to get LinkedIn Premium. and I will get this closer to when I'm applying to jobs. Right now I don't need them. Then I want to get this study guide. Again, something I'll do when I'm closer to applying for jobs. There's also P Forum Premium. I want to get access to a study forum as well. There's like some paid study forums, and I think they're worth it. I also maybe might have to buy 2 books or some C++ book, which is not my primary coding language. So I want to get a book on like optimizations for that. I'm gonna go off this video and get the exact title. Okay, the book is called Optimizing Software in C++, and I'll just write C++. So the book is way too long. What is the other book I want to get? And the other book I'm going to get is a book about machine learning for financial applications. So I just use some abbreviations there. So I'm not going to be spending money in this category this month, but I want to make note of all of the things that I want at some point in time. And let's probably order it by the order I would get it in. This study guide is just a nice to have at this point. I'm pretty good at studying without it. So I just added also mock interviews. You can usually organize with people to do free mock interviews, but I also want to explore paid options, and that would be usually doing a mock interview with someone who is in the exact role at the exact companies I'm targeting, right? And usually if you're getting people at these big tech companies, they will charge you. So I have to be open to like doing paid options, and the way I will get open to that is by budgeting for it. All of these things are really forward focused. So this amount of money I'm actually going to bring to zero because I don't need to just let it build up for no reason. All of these things are quite expensive. So it is good to let it build up in that sense. But I know my new philosophy is more so like have the budget be your plan and allocate things when needed, when you know you're going to need it. I just don't really need to let things build up because I can cash flow these things when they do come. And so having a budget that is like true to what I'll actually be spending on at the time is better for me. Okay, so let's move this to ready to assign. Do I just want to move it to Korea? Is the question. I'll just move it to ready to assign. Next, health and hygiene expenses. So I already have my gym membership. I have a Curology thing on the way, so I at least need $60. I do want to get a mani-pedi, but I think I'll just do that in Korea. I have to get an ankle bracelet or an ankle brace. That is about $20. So this category should only need about $80. I'll leave it at $90. I'm actually going to give myself another $60 just because I might have gym supplies that I need. Let's actually go back and try to make this $150 because I might have some gym things that I need and I want to give myself flexibility for that because I will be getting more things to make sure like going to the gym is just effortless for me. Okay, this is good. Now, I purposely went down so I could not have to deal with groceries and all of that stuff and food because that is always the biggest question mark. I know for a fact, like, I'm just not going to be cooking this month. I don't have time. So eating out will be the focus. But I want to really restrict where I'm eating out. So I want to make sure I'm going to Sweetgreen for 50% of my eating out. And the reason for this is because eating out is such a slippery slope in terms of your health. The main thing I don't like about eating out is even if you're eating a relatively healthy thing, there's just so much like oil and other things in it that you just don't feel the best. And I want to take better care of my health. And that means just like eating salads if I eat out. Really, those are the only like truly reliable healthy thing I can get. and I really trust Sweetgreen. And yeah, so I want to do Sweetgreen for 50% of my eating out. That's $20 a day for 15 days if I do Sweetgreen. So already there, I'm gonna need $300. That's just for Sweetgreen. Outside of Sweetgreen, I probably give myself $180. I'm gonna give myself $60 for groceries here. So I'm thinking that will be like, I'll try to like contribute to us buying groceries and track that here. Okay, one thing to remember for social activities is that I will have like maybe a thing to do with my boyfriend since we are doing like an month anniversary thing this month, and so I will put an extra $120 towards that. And again, this is all in the first week of August, so maybe we'll have to celebrate that on another week. We will see, but I did want to put some money towards that. Okay, this is a very different looking budget for me. This is truly me trying to stick to what I'm trying to spend. How? Oh, for transportation, I didn't try to make it a round number. That's fine. Now, everything else that I have left will go to my two main priorities right now, which are Korea and driver's ed. So let's just put this in Korea and see what happens. I have hit my $2,000 goal for Korea. My overall goal will be $3,000, but for now, I'm good with just having $2,000. And I have $400 going towards my driving lessons. I still have almost $300 of wiggle room with all of these categories, so I feel good about this plan. This is a really different way for me to budget. I feel like this is a budget with a point of view. Like, it is not just, it's giving me direction for the month. I'm going to be really excited to recap this to see how I kept to these exact numbers. Let me actually do a scroll so I can know for myself what I'm checking up against. These are my exact numbers. I need to stick to this. Commuting, actually, if I go over, that's actually fine in that category. That is weird. This category is not supposed to build up. It's only supposed to get up to 10. Yeah, it says refill up to 10, but for some reason that didn't work. I can very clearly see that ynab has some bugs in it right now. Hopefully they are taking a look at that. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.